Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. My name is Jesse Milestone, and we are here to discuss the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones. And if you were still clinging on board to the show for some reason at this point, as all of you may or may not know, I've been hard out on this show since I started watching it. I was like, nope, this show has always had some deep flaws for me, and it's just funny to me that everyone is just now recognizing them this season. So if you were still on board and this episode didn't do it for you, I don't know what you were watching. Now, there were some cool things about this episode, which we'll talk about, I guess. But first, let's talk about everything that is so blatantly wrong with this episode. Where to even begin? First, oh, by the way, spoilers. If you haven't watched this yet and you don't like spoilers, don't watch this until you watch the episode. But if you haven't watched this episode yet, what are you doing? Go watch the episode and then come back and watch this. Anyway, so, first thing that doesn't make sense, Varys. The second that he had an inkling things weren't going to go his way, he'd have bounced the hell out of there. He would not have been anywhere near Dragonstone to get burned alive by Drogon. That just would never have happened. This is the cleverest man in the entire world. There's no way that he's just like, whoops, might get betrayed, seems fine, I'll just hang out and hope for the best. There's no way that happens. And I get the, calmly accepting his death. And that was some great acting moments from the actor, but There's just no way he's still there. There's no way he's still there. No way he's still there for that. Second thing. All right, so we saw Rhaegal get shredded by these scorpions in the last episode. Just abjectly shredded. And we see Dany dive-bombing the ships to try to, but there's just too many of them. And they're just pointed at her every which way. And she's got to fly away and do all these crazy things just to escape. Turns out, all she needed to defeat the scorpions, which were in and of themselves a deus ex machina, because they just, came out of nowhere. Oh my god, this is the way that all of a sudden we level the playing field and dragons are no longer a problem. Well, now it turns out she just needed one episode to ruminate on scorpions and cry about Missandei, and now she can just dive bomb them and dodge them like a pro, and it's no problem. It turns out the scorpions are way harder to turn in this episode than they were in last episode. So, that Iron Fleet, no problem. The fact that there is a scorpion pointed out from every single point of the walls of King's Landing, no problem. She just has to fly straight on at one of them and dodge. She just has to dodge. That was the secret all along. Just dodge. Secretly, Game of Thrones is dodgeball. You're welcome. And so she just destroys one of those, and now it's a clear shot to just fly right, come up behind them and destroy all the other ones. Just like that. Super simple. Because, oh, by the way, fire is now a ballistic. Fire doesn't just burn things, it also hits things with so much impact that it makes stone explode. Because that makes so much sense. So, easy. King's Landing falls, lickety-split, just like that. Now, I have a couple questions as we see Daenerys' armies coming to storm the city. Chiefly, where the hell did all the Dothraki come from? Those bitches multiply fast. They multiply real fast. Because as far as I can tell, at the end of the last episode, or at the end of the Battle of Winterfell, first thing that happens is the Dothraki go out and lights out, and we see maybe 4 or 5 horses plus Jorah, not all with riders on them, return from that futile charge. So as far as I can tell, almost, unless she just had a whole bunch of Dothraki just sitting in reserve somewhere, as far as I can tell, the Dothraki just multiply overnight, apparently. They just have really strong sperm that makes babies pop out in a day and grow up in 2. Because that's just logic. And beyond that, so you have a whole handful of Dothraki now. You have a solid little chunk of Dothraki storming the city. Now, if you watched the preview for next week, the trailer for next week's episode, the Dothraki have multiplied again. There's at least 100 of them now. How? How did the Dothraki multiply like this? I don't understand. And then you have probably the most consistent thing with Game of Thrones, which is Game of Thrones has always told story through ridiculous staring contests. So you have a nice one of those, very consistent with the overall tone of the show. This beautiful staring contest between the soldiers of King's Landing and Jon's motley crew of, Winterfellians and God knows who else, having a nice little staring contest. And Grey Worm pulls a Peter Quill in Infinity War, except instead of going psycho on the person who killed the love of his life, he decides to go psycho on people who have just surrendered. People who have laid down the way to honor your late girlfriend's memory. I'm sure she'd be really proud of you, slaughtering a bunch of people who just said, nah, I don't want to fight anymore. Good job, Grey Worm. Looks like madness is not reserved for the Mad Queen. Daenerys, of course. Now, wouldn't it have been fun? Wouldn't it have been great? Because we've seen this show a hint at her madness. We've seen the hints of her madness, absolutely, from like way the I would say from when Tyrion gets his golden crown, and the way she just takes that totally in stride and was like, he wasn't a dragon. Fire cannot hurt a dragon. That's like the first indication that there's screw kind of loose in there. Like, this is your brother, Most people have some fifis when the closest person to them in the world, even if they were a massive piece of shit, bites it. So, some feelings, not just like, that person deserved to die, I am the dragon. And there's a whole, I am the dragon queen, I am the unburnt, all of this smacks of, a certain kind of schizophrenia anyway. So, if you didn't suspect some madness in Dany, you just weren't paying attention. That said, we watched her do, kind of snap in the last episode. There's a pretty steep cliff between snapping and burning children alive. There's a lot of descending into madness that might have been really fun for us to watch, beyond just she's disheveled. Look, she didn't put on any concealer today. That's how you know she's gone crazy. Can we see a little more of this? Can we be let into this journey, to this descent, just a little bit? That'd be nice. Please, am I asking too much? I'm just asking too much, aren't I? God damn it. Why would I even think to want these things? Ugh. Anyhoozle. And then, of course, you have the wonderful character arcs. Jaime Lannister, the man who has changed so much in the course of the show after losing his hand and sort of having this reckoning about the kind of person that he was and the kind of person that he wanted to be, and this incredibly powerful moment at the end of season 7 where he finally turns his back on Cersei and walks out on her. And then just turns right around and ditches Brienne for her, and we're like, what is this thing? Is he trying to go save her soul, maybe? Or her life, at least? I don't know. Is maybe he the one who thinks, he's acting like, I'm the hateful one, but maybe secretly, you need to kill her and rid the world of her evil? Nope. Just reverts right back to old Jaime. Just, Cersei's the one for me, and I never don't do anything for her, except now he's sappy and cries about it. So great story arc. Way to take Jaime, one of the most fascinating characters, who you already ruined a bit, by lessening by softening the intensity of his arc in the show. Because in the book, it's very much he is an irredeemable bastard, and then he gets redeemed, and then after that process, you find out that some of his old choices maybe weren't as horrible as they seem like they were, but some of them still pretty much were. And in the show, there's a lot of justification for those choices right from the get-go. So when he loses his hand, there's some change and redemption there, but there's some elements where it's like, I was never that bad all along. So this makes even less sense, because the whole way they develop in the show is like, look, I always had reasons to do the thing I did, and I was never that bad of a guy all along. Turns out, no, you're just an incorrigible piece of shit who only cares about fucking your sister. Great. Wonderful job. And of course, way to subvert our expectations, D&D, after waiting for years to find out who finally gets to stick it to Cersei. It's the ceiling. The ceiling kills Cersei Lannister in a moment that was cathartic for nobody. The ceiling falls down on her. No one's even gonna know, especially because Tyrion pulled his little trick to, try to smuggle him out. No one's even gonna effing know that she and Jaime died in the rubble until God knows when. Maybe never, because I guess I'll just burn the rubble since fire apparently just explodes bricks now. So that's fine. And who gets to sit on the Iron Throne? Apparently nobody? Because the Iron Throne is presumably also buried somewhere in this giant rubble that is the Red Keep, because it just doesn't exist anymore. Wow, Daenerys, this city that was so important to you to take over, this throne that was so important to you to sit in, this keep that your family built when they began their reign of Westeros, over Westeros, you just blew up. for no real reason, because there were like 3 people in it. There was like Qyburn, Clegane, and the Mountain, and fucking Cersei. You could have just flown up to that window and just blasted some fire and it would have been over. Nope, destroy it all. Destroy everything. The very thing that I came to rule, I will just burn, because that makes sense. And while we're on that subject, this is one of the few things that I did like. I think that the Hound had a good arc. I think that the Hound fulfilled his arc well, and it's sort of poetic that he kills his brother by throwing him into fire when, the brother burned him and all that stuff. And he's gone through some back and forth of having his courage and losing his courage, but this revenge thing is one of the few things that's kept him going, kept him motivated. And his little speech to Arya was a nice moment. It was like very unearned because it's very abrupt. She goes 1 second from being like, I will kill Cersei, to being like, that makes sense. I'm a bounce now. Which is like, really? You're gonna wait till this moment? You're gonna wait till this moment, Hound, to have this little chit-chat with her, when apparently she's very capable of listening the whole time, so, whatever. But we'll get to Arya in a second. So this is a nice... It's a nice moment for the audience, even though it's a totally illogical, stupid moment, to have Gregor refuse Cersei's orders and still want to go fight his brother. That makes no sense, because he's just a zombie at this point. There is no shred of human left in him. In the books, he full on dies and is resurrected, so he's just a zombie. So there should be no memory of who this other person is. As a moment for us, the audience, yeah, it's a nicer moment because it puts a little more vitriol behind this fight. It puts a little more passion. It's not just Sandor facing off against a zombie. It's Sandor facing off against his brother who hates him as much as he hates him. So that's fine. Let's take a moment of illogicalness to make it better. Now, what an arc for Arya, from the badass assassin who kills the Night King to, if you even think about the way she is in half of that episode too, Arya's just become Sir Robin. She bravely ran away, brave Arya ran, she ran away. Like, that's what she just bravely runs away all the time now. Like, this is why. Also, she's made of magic, because apparently falling buildings don't hurt her. And when dragons toast literally everything around her, including the walls, she's totally fine. She's just a little dusty. Oh, that's maybe a nosebleed, or probably someone else's blood. Because she's just invincible, but also a coward. That makes sense. That's how I like to see my heroes grow and change. To have them grow from like, oh, you're the badass assassin who can kill literally anybody, including the Night King, to you just run away. That's what you do. So I'm glad that she listened to sense from the Hound, because I would like to see her live. But you know what? It's ridiculous. It was a cheat way to be like, let's show you the horrors of what's happening on the ground in King's Landing with the character you care about. So we'll have the justification. That's why Arya went all the way in with the Hound, and now is going to go all the way out by herself, because that's the only way we could take you in and out from somebody's perspective that you care about, so that you could really feel the horror of all the carnage. And that stuff, by the way, the visual stuff of people getting burned and screaming and dying, and the carnage and the horror to really drive home this Mad Queen Dany thing, and the horrors of war and the evils of what she's doing. Good job. The visuals, oh my god, crushed faces, blood spurting out of the necks of children, people being burned alive. Like, that's pretty rough. That was pretty rough to watch. So kudos to you on that visual design. But the rest of this episode, it makes, there's so many things in the show that make sense if you actually wrote into them. Right? This is the show of again, things are decided through staring contests. Plans are put into motion, and we wait entire seasons for those plans to come to fruition. And now you have 2 episodes in which literally nothing happens except for maybe a little bit of character development in episode 2. Episode 3 that's centered around something entirely separate from what the overarching plot of this season apparently is. And you have 2 episodes where just everything happens, with no build-up, no machinations, and the world is so small we teleport from one corner of Westeros to the other, and just stuff happens. All over the place. Stuff is just happening, with no build-up, no lead-in, no machinations, no scheming, just shit happening. And that is, wow, okay. So, this for me is there's nothing Game of Thronesy about this episode. There's nothing subterfugey. There's nothing and we don't even, again, there's no even good, oh, Cersei finally got her comeuppance. She got a roof on her head. She got crushed by rubble. I was not rooting for rubble to kill Cersei. That was not what I was rooting for. There's so many, anybody, freaking if Jaqen H'ghar showed up and was like, a girl still has one name, and she's like, all right, Cersei, and he just goes and kills her. I'm better with that. Or like Euron suddenly being like, you are my nemesis, Jaime Lannister, and Jaime just getting better. Apparently what happens when you get stabbed repeatedly in the abdomen is that your just condition slowly improves as you walk up and down a whole bunch of stairs. That's just how that one works. Great, super logic there, just tons of sense. So Euron gets this moment, I killed Jaime Lannister. No, you didn't. The ceiling also killed Jaime Lannister. It's just like, what? There's so many... So good things were the visuals. There's good visuals. We got to see Dany snap. We get to see Tyrion and Jon be like, oh shit. But aside from that, Jon is just a vagina this entire episode. Like, I just listen to my queen even when I know she's wrong. And now you're like, oh, but my queen is killing children. Maybe I have to actually conscientiously object to this now. Kind of just stuck in the middle of everything, being like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, all right, I guess you shouldn't be the ruler of Westeros. I guess Varys was wrong about that you were meant to rule because you would do it well and justly. No, you would kind of do it stupidly, apparently. You would do it, my queen, I don't know, and then stuff is happening, and I'm like, stand up and take a stand a little sooner in this conflict, you know? Like when Grey Worm first chucks the spear into another guy, make a call right then and there, Jon. Don't just like be a bitch. But that's this show now. This show is a bitch. How is it gonna end? It cannot end in any satisfying way at this point. I don't see that happening. There's one more episode to wrap everything up. There's just too much going on. These showrunners really did a disservice by forcing this into just the 13 more final episodes. Especially when they took season 7, they just took their sweet old time and just danced through the plot the way they always had. Got to these last 6, I'm like, oh crap, we actually have to finish the story. Pass the torch at that point. Let someone else take the helm and finish. I get it. This is your baby. This is your work. But if you can't do the ending justice, let someone else do it. Don't be so egotistical about it. So that brings up a lot of concerns for them doing Star Wars, but what do I know? Anyway, those are my feelings. Let me know if you feel the same way. If you don't feel the same way, there's a comment section for that. I'm always open to your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and press that like button. Click on all of the links that are coming up that will be popping up here shortly. There's Jesse's Shot First, my amazing new t-shirt designed by Anna, that Star Wars girl. There's LA Cheesesteak Reviews. We got our first little bit of content up there, so make sure you check that out and subscribe. We'll be dropping more on you very, very soon. And that video that says get involved with me, that'll give you links to Teespring, Patreon, all different ways that you can get involved with this channel and help it grow. Everything you do helps so much. You can follow me at Jesse Milestone on Twitter, at Mindless Entertainment on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Can't do it without you. God Empress out.